Scorpions in the shoes. Yep.
I think we are live. Yes. Okay. Welcome to our live broadcast, everyone, to Anselmo Academy of Music and the Arts. We have created this series during the pandemic that we call Music is Live, where we feature professional performers, educators, composers, writers, encompassing the world of music, arts, and education, all right here. Thank you and welcome to our live broadcast. For the first time, we are on YouTube and hope this is working. Are you confused? Hopefully not as confused as I am. I think my mentors are way, overestimating my abilities to navigate social media, but we'll see. I wanted to say a couple of words about Anselmo Academy. We are celebrating 20th year anniversary this school year. And we are proud and honored to let you all know that we have helped educate thousands of students since the beginning of 2001 through 2021. And besides serving private lessons, we are especially focused on enrichment type programs that we organize at local schools, community centers, after school programs, churches, and organizations that serve students with learning disabilities. And we used to just do piano and general music for majority of its history. But in the last year or so, we have expanded our curriculum. And currently we offer piano, violin, guitar, voice, musical theater and acting, drums, saxophone, ukulele, and classes in music theory, to becoming soon a Disney class, early childhood education class, and improvisation class. So we hope that you find it interesting and can explore more at our website, which is anselmoacademy.org. We will also want to encourage you to subscribe to our relatively new and unused YouTube channel. This way you can stay in touch with us. You can see our news releases, videos. We post many class samples and lesson samples along with a broadcast like this. You can also post comments or questions underneath any video and let us know how we can help you. We hope you stay safe during this pandemic. And we also wanted to wish you all happy holidays and happy spring break to so many kids that are going to be out of school for the next week or 10 days or so. And I would like to introduce our guest today. Please help me welcome Nicola Tilias, harp. He is from Paris, France. Say hi.
Hello.
Welcome. Our next guest is Alicia D'Alessio McClintock, piano. She's from New Jersey. Welcome.
Thank you, Vera.
And our last guest today is Barbara Podgorski, who is in Queens, New York. She's also a pianist. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining us today. I wanted to mention that all three of you serve on the honorary board at Anselmo Academy of Music and the Arts. And it's a unique board, if you will, of musicians and artists and educators, composers, writers that provides moral support to our outreach programs that we serve local community with. And we are, as a nonprofit organization, very much appreciate your moral support. Thank you. The first part of the broadcast is introduction, where we introduce each guest with a brief summary, if you will, and then an excerpt from the live performance, the video. So guest number one is Nicola Tilias, who is born and raised in Paris, France. He holds a position of solo harpist at the Orchestra Philharmonique de Radio France. He is a winner of many competitions and scholarships and has performed as a soloist all over Europe, US, Canada, and Asia. And the link that we are going to play is a fantastic piece by Ravel called Introduction and Allegro that is written for a string quartet, harp, flute, and clarinet. It's almost like a harp concerto, if you will. So we're going to play this link. Take a listen. Fantastic, thank you. We'll come back to Nicolas in just a bit. We're introducing our second guest, which is Alicia D'Alessio McClintock, who is a pianist and educator. She grew up in New Jersey in a musical family, and after graduating with a Master of Music degree in piano performance, she has devoted herself to teaching and been inspiring young students for over 2 decades. Her son, Charlie, who is 15, is studying trumpet, and we will play an excerpt of them playing duo of the interesting piece written by Gordon Young. It's called Contemporary Suite. Take a listen. Fantastic. Thank you. So great to see a teenager studying music and really dedicating himself to it is really was really admirable. Thank you. We'll get back to Alicia very soon. Our guest number 3 is Barbara Podgorski, who is a native New Yorker. She is a pianist and a teaching artist, and she holds a doctorate degree in piano performance. She's an avid recitalist, being featured in numerous television and radio broadcasts. And Barbara is also an executive and artistic director of Musica Ragine, I hope I'm saying this right, Productions, which is a nonprofit concert series. And we have her video performing Arensky suite for 2 pianos with a fellow pianist, Konstanza Chernov. Take a look. Great job, you guys. And we'll come back to Barbara in a little bit. And we're going to return now to Nicola. And just a few words, again, to sort of add to his accolades, that among many of his accomplishments, Nicola holds degrees from Juilliard, Royal Conservatory of Toronto, and Yale University. Nicola has been appointed as solo harpist at the Orchestra Philharmonique de Luxembourg, also symphony orchestra in Basel, and now in Orchestra Philharmonique de Radio France. He has also performed many new compositions and have numerous recordings. So Nicola, welcome. So good to see you. I wanted to, sort of start from the beginning and hear, your story. How did you start your music studies? Did you choose harp on your own? How did you arrive to studying harp? Did you study any other instruments? Tell us a little bit of your beginning.
Okay, well, the French system is kind of different, I think, than in the States. So we have conservatories for kids, where we start with just what you would call ear training. And then you choose an instrument. So when you're very young, my parents said you have to play piano because everybody needs to play piano. So I started when I was 4 or 5. And after a while, I saw one of the Marx Brothers movies. I don't know if you know the Marx Brothers, and one of the brothers plays the harp. It's harpo, and I was 7 or 8, and I said, I want to do this because I was so amazed by this movie. And the following year, actually, they told me, if you're young, you would start on a small harp, not one that you see behind me, but a smaller one. And I said, no, I want to play the big one. So I waited 1 more year. And then I said, okay, I will start with a small one if I need to. So I was 8 when I started. And
were your parents musicians, or did anybody help you practice or anything like that at home?
No, my mom played piano. They're both medical doctors, so they go to concerts. My mom played piano, but nobody actually really helped. My grandmother, after a while, she came to make me practice 1 hour a day. Once my grandfather died, actually, my mom tried to get her to do stuff. So she would come and make me practice 1 hour every day. So I owe her a lot, actually, because she was really disciplining me in a way.
Of course.
When I was 14, something like this.
Yes, it's so important, right? And so, so did you play piano and harp, or did you quit piano and moved on to harp? How?
Piano.
Mm-hmm. And so you focused directly on harp.
Directly on harp. Then I played French horn, a little cello.
Oh my goodness.
But the main instrument was the harp. So then I'm sorry.
No. Was it a requirement to play other instruments?
No, not at all. No. I just, at some point I wanted to conduct. So I thought it would be good to see a string instrument, a wind instrument. So that's why I did all this. But I was studying regular studies like mathematics because my parents wanted me to be a doctor. So music was on the side. So basically every day after school, I would have either piano, horn, or ear training and stuff. So it's a lot of days, but it was a passion. So you don't count your hours when you're a kid, I think.
And at which point did you decide, or did you feel that there was, music you wanted to pursue rather than being a doctor?
Well, when I was 15, 16, I knew that was my passion, but that was not an option in terms of making a living for my parents or for me. I had no idea what to do. But then I met the teacher from the Juilliard School in Paris, the year of my last year of high school. She came to do a master class, and my teacher at the time told me, you should go and meet her. And she said, you should come and study with me in New York. So then I had a good excuse for my parents, and I said, I'm going to learn English in New York. They said, okay, it's good, you learn English, and then you come back after 1 year, And once I stayed in New York, I said, I want to stay there. And then they were okay, because Juilliard School is a good name. So they were scared because I was just turning 18, or I was still 17 when I moved to New York alone. So, but for me, it was the best years. You were there, I remember.
Yes.
So
And so how was your years at Juilliard? Did you find that your teacher, tell us about your teacher as a mentor?
well, for me, it was a total new experience because I had no background in music in a way, like people coming from a musical family. So for me, everything was like leisure time. We would go to the Met every night just for one act, listening, because we had a friend playing there. So we would go for one act of La Bohème and then go back to practice. We had amazing teachers in theories, in meeting great colleagues and students like you. And so it was an amazing time for me. New York in the 80s was the best time of my life, I think.
Wonderful. And so after that, did you go straight to Toronto or did you take a break? How did you end up in Royal Conservatory?
I actually tried to get some scholarships from Europe. And the one I got was from the Rotary Club. And I was not allowed to use it in a country where I lived already. So I would have loved to stay in New York. But then I heard of this teacher, Judy Lohman, in Toronto. So I said, okay, it's near New York. I could come back, see all my friends and the life we kind of had in New York. And I loved this teacher. So I stayed 3 years over there. I got a job in an orchestra in Toronto. And then decided to go back to study at Yale. And I was sponsored by the Canadian government actually then, because I became like a green card for America, for the States. So the Canadian government paid for me to go study at Yale.
Amazing. And I hear, and I don't know if that is even true, but I hear that a Yale program currently is free for all musicians.
Now, yeah. In
now
my
it
days,
is, right? Which is unbelievable. I was really, really amazed. It's a free program for all music, music majors. They accept you. It's a free program, which is amazing. So tell us a little bit about Yale. How long did you stay there?
I stayed 2 years to do a master. And if you want the real story, actually, when we were at Juilliard, there was always an Ivy League club from all the Ivy League of the States. I don't know if you remember. So whenever there was a conductor or lecturer who came to Juilliard, this Ivy League club had a special meeting with a conductor. And I was so jealous. I said, like, why can I'm not allowed to actually, go to this place. So I always wanted to be in an Ivy League school and see what it is, So that was one of the main reasons, was to see what it is from inside. But wonderful. Yale is an amazing place as well.
Yes. And so you stayed on campus at Yale?
No, it's within the campus, but not in the dormitories, because for graduate students, you're not allowed to.
I see. Okay. Fantastic. And then you returned to Europe. After your long years of studies, you returned to Europe. Any reason why you didn't want to stay in United States? Or you had no choice? How did it come about?
The thing is, once you finish school, you're allowed 1 year of practical training. And there was only one opening in Miami, which I got with a New World Symphony, but it was a student orchestra. So I could only stay like for 1 or 2 years, and then I would be not even legal in the States. So then I got a job in Luxembourg, which is a very good position. And I decided, okay, it's time to go back. And I made the move, basically. Because there is only one job in each orchestra for harp.
Of course.
So like 10 years in advance, which person will retire and in which country there will be one opening. So once there is an opening, the whole world goes to audition for that place.
My goodness. I don't know anything about harp, actually, and I don't know how many pianists do. Maybe you could tell us, so how competitive? Obviously, the world of pianists is very competitive, right? Especially in a big city like New York. How competitive is the world of harpists, like to get a position in the orchestra? Is it extremely difficult?
Well, the thing is, in every big city, you have one opera orchestra, maybe one or two symphonic orchestras. Each of them has maximum one or two harp positions. So if you have 4 jobs in a major city, it's a maximum, you know. Then you can teach. Solo career, it's not like piano. There is nobody who can do a solo career and live only doing recitals on the harp.
Of course.
So basically, either you have a very good teaching position or an orchestra job. So if you make the calculation, I'm not sure it's less competitive than piano in a way. You know?
Yes, I understand what you mean.
A lot of possibilities. For us, it's only like 3 or 4 in each city. You know?
Amazing. And so why don't we show pictures of Nicolas, his professional shots with his beautiful harp. And tell us, please, I don't know anything about harp, I'm sorry, but can you tell us about your harp, your instrument that you have behind you?
Well, do you want to see like how it works?
Yeah.
You have 47 strings. I don't know if you see anything. And all the sharps and flats are made by using the pedals. There are 7 pedals on the harp. I don't know if you see here.
Yes.
So they make like the black keys on the piano, and the strings are red or blue. You see, the doors are in red and the fa in black. And there's a mechanism going from the pedals all the way through the column to shorten the string. So basically, on each string, you can do 3 sounds.
The sharp and the flat. Got it. Yeah. I feel like I can play it already. Huh. Great. Yes. Can we show professional pictures of Nicola, please? Yeah. You look so happy.
You have to.
No, but it feels like you're really fulfilled, which is fantastic. Great. So tell us now about your teaching, because you teach, tell us where, and we have a video clip of you at École Normale. But tell us about your teaching experience. How did it start, and what is your any feedback about being now a teacher versus a student?
I forgot to mention that before I went to Juilliard, actually, I was taking private lessons in summer academies with somebody called Pierre Jamet, who used to know Debussy. So when I met him, he was 92. So I met him from his 92 to 98. And he knew Ravel, Debussy, and all those people, you know. So I feel like I got his teaching, and I need, you know, it's kind of a legacy I need to transmit. So now I'm teaching at École Normale Alfred Cortot, which is mostly, it's a private school in Paris, but it's in a very old mansion. It's like the Parisian art de vivre. You know, it's a very nice place to visit. And for foreigners who want to spend 1 or 2 years in Paris, it's a perfect place. So my idea is to give back what I got from all my teachers before in an environment that allows you to feel the sense of the French art de vivre. I don't know if you can call it differently, you know. And
how old are your students? How old are they?
They're all professionals. They're from like 19 to 30.
So it's a college. It's just college level.
Yeah, but it's not a Bologna. You don't give, now you can get masters actually, but it's a different system. So people would come just for a few years, but not for a diploma usually.
Great.
This Russian girl from Moscow who's already a professional, won competition. She just wants to focus on preparing an international competition, and she wants to come just for 2 years, you know, but just to practice. So
great. Let's play the video clip we have.
Et j'enseigne donc la harpe à des élèves dans ce lieu merveilleux que vous pouvez voir, qui est l'École normale de musique de Paris, qui a un passé très conséquent et surtout qui fait que les élèves côtoient le beau en rentrant dans l'immeuble en fait. Moi j'ai toujours été très attaché l'esthétique du bâtiment qui permet à des élèves étrangers qui n'ont pas forcément eu l'occasion de connaître ça ou de le vivre en fait. Donc c'est un plus d'enseigner dans ce lieu à Paris pour des élèves, pour les initier au beau français et à l'esthétique en général en fait. Et c'est ce qui me semble le plus spécifique de l'école normale, outre le fait que le curriculum est très particulier, parce que c'est pas comme une université où on a de nombreuses heures de cours, les élèves viennent ici pour se focaliser sur l'instrument. Et c'est ce qui m'intéresse, c'est-à-dire qu'ils ont beaucoup plus de temps pour du travail personnel. Et donc ce que j'essaie de leur transmettre, c'est une approche du son, de la harpe française que moi j'ai apprise par Pierre Jamet, qui était mon prof à la fin de sa vie directement. Donc j'ai eu l'honneur et la chance de le côtoyer et de travailler avec lui. Donc ce que je peux transmettre maintenant que j'en ai le temps et l'envie à des élèves qui n'ont pas eu l'occasion de rencontrer. Voilà. Parce que ce qui me manque chez beaucoup d'interprètes qui viennent ici, c'est justement une sorte de compréhension du pourquoi quelque chose est beau. En fait. Donc à chaque fois qu'une élève vient ici, je leur dis la harpe c'est bien, tu sais en jouer, maintenant ce que j'aimerais que tu fasses, c'est va au musée, va au concert, on est à Paris, tous les orchestres du monde, tous les solistes passent. Grâce à l'école normale, ils ont des tickets pour toutes les générales ou les concerts. Et ce qui m'intéresse le plus, c'est de leur faire comprendre pourquoi ils aiment quelque chose, en fait. C'est pas de leur dire ça c'est beau, tu dois faire ça, c'est de dire qu'est-ce qui te touche toi. Et cet endroit, pour moi, est fabuleux parce qu'on est ouvert à beaucoup de choses. Il m'arrive souvent de demander à mes élèves, les grandes élèves de l'école normale, de venir s'intégrer comme deuxième harpe, juste pour une petite période, pour une série ou deux, ce qui leur donne à la fois la confiance et l'expérience, c'est-à-dire que pour préparer un concours d'orchestre, c'est très bien de savoir ses notes, mais si on a la conscience qu'on peut faire le travail pour lequel on postule, ça change tout. Donc c'est un avantage qu'elles sont peu nombreuses ici et qu'elles ont la chance, une fois ou deux dans l'année, de venir travailler avec moi à l'orchestre dans un cadre vraiment professionnel. Des débouchés sur la harpe. Certes, il y en a beaucoup qui préparent des concours internationaux pour essayer de devenir grandes solistes. Le fait est qu'à part l'enseignement, l'orchestre, c'est très dur de vivre en tant que harpiste soliste. Donc il faut qu'elles pensent assez tôt à ce qu'elles veulent faire. Il y a beaucoup d'options. La musique française, Debussy, Ravel, Jolivet, est une des parties les plus importantes du répertoire. Pour vraiment le comprendre, à mon avis, une élève, quelle qu'elle soit, peut bénéficier énormément de parler le français. Donc le fait de passer 1 an ou 2 à Paris, au sein de l'école normale, où il y a des cours de français, et de vivre l'expérience, parce qu'on peut apprendre beaucoup de choses dans les livres, mais le fait de vivre à Paris, de comprendre un art de vivre, de prendre un café, de ne pas perdre du temps, mais c'est quelque chose qu'il n'y a pas forcément dans tous les pays, peut être très important pour l'interprétation de la musique française. La musique contemporaine, c'est un des débouchés, c'est un des domaines qui m'intéresse moi particulièrement, le rapport avec les compositeurs. À l'école normale, il y a eu du Tilleux, il y a beaucoup de compositeurs vivants qui sont là, donc on essaie de faire des ponts entre les différentes classes. Mais c'est vrai que je les incite à aller beaucoup au concert. Il y a l'IRCAM qui est à Paris, l'Institut de recherche musicale. Personnellement, je fais beaucoup de créations, donc j'essaye, encore une fois, d'éveiller les élèves à tout ce qui est possible et tout ce qui n'est pas encore fait.
Wow, that was great. Very well said. I'm inspired. Can I go? Fantastic. So let's talk now about your involvement in performing many contemporary works. Tell us more about your recent, maybe, engagement performing contemporary, music written by contemporary composers.
Well, it's not very recent. It's always something I love, which is the relation between a performer and a living composer, Mm-hmm. When you have somebody writing a piece for you, especially with the harp, that most composers don't know anything about, it's really, you cannot do all the chromaticism that you can do on a piano. So it's very challenging for a composer to spend the time and learn how to write for the harp. So my goal as a harpist is to expand the repertoire. It's not like the piano where we have Brahms or Beethoven. We have some repertoire, but it's very limited in terms of, I don't know how to say it, but we need to expand the repertoire, and the research of new composer is what I'm really, really attracted to, you know. So when I was at Juilliard, we met this composer, Jan Maresch, who he wrote me a solo piece when we were students, then some trio with electronics, and now we just did the concerto that I commissioned from the orchestra where I am now in Finland. It's a triple commission, because for a composer to make a living now, if you have only one commission and he spends 1 year to write it, he cannot survive, basically. So the new trend is to get 2 or 3 orchestras to commission the same piece. So we get 3 premiere, and in this way, the composer can not only be performed more than just once and then be forgotten, but also be able to support his time composing, you know.
Wonderful. So tell us about the last video we have for you is the concerto for harp and orchestra, where harp is amplified. And we actually have featured this work in our earlier broadcast that we did in October of 2020, where Jan Maresch was our guest. So tell us a little bit from the side of the performer about this piece, how you learned it, the process of getting it ready, and anything you like to mention.
Well, you said amplified, but actually the way Jan Maresch used the harp is, he would rather say augmented, which means not just an amplification. It's whenever I play one note, it triggers something in the electronic that would start something else, you know? So it's like a MIDI harp, you know? I don't know if you're familiar with the MIDI system. So it's very, very adventurous in this way. And he knew how to write for the harp because he wrote for me many pieces before. So it's a pleasure to work with somebody like this, because he's trying to make this instrument something bigger than what it is. Because the problem with the harp, it's like the guitar. When you play a concerto, it's very often, we don't hear it anymore, you know?
Yeah, it's very quiet.
He plays piano and you can hear something, or it's covered. So Jan wanted to be different in the way that he doesn't like the concerto form when you have the soloist playing and then the orchestra. So this piece is, it's like a mixture of the harp inside the orchestra, but you can still hear it because of this augmentation, you know.
Fantastic. Yes. Yes.
No, what I like the relation, you know, with all the creation process for me is what's fascinating, you know. I see like the sketches, he wanted to do something, I said, this is not possible, this is not playable, but let's try, you know. So my idea is to tell them, write whatever you want to hear, then don't limit yourself. Then I'll tell you whether it's possible or not. And then I would work to make everything possible to see what he wants and to see what's feasible or not, you know.
Sounds great. Let's play the link that we have to harp concerto written by Jan Maresch called Repliques. And that was in Finland, correct? That was,
Yes, in Helsinki, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Nicola, anything you'd like to add before we move on to Alicia?
Well, I just want to say that in those very critical times, music can help. So whoever is listening, if you're playing music, try to find an audience, even like friends, neighbors, anything. The important is sharing. So if you have no audience, for us, it's easy in the orchestra because we have radio and TV. But I know most performers are frustrated in these days because the human feeling of transmitting music is not happening. So find a way, open your windows, invite friends, keeping the distance, but share your music. That's all I want to say.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for having
Wonderful.
us.
Thank you. Thank you. We now move on to Alicia D'Alessio McClintock. And I just have a couple of words more to mention her accolades. Alicia, you come from a family of musicians where your mom was a singer and your father played the trumpet, like your son now. And your father was touring with Jay Black and the Americas. That is great. Tell us more about that in a little bit. It was a famous band in the 60s. And your piano teachers are among some very well-known musicians in New York, like Joan Bergman, and in college, Diane Walsh and Thomas Sauer. And you have currently a private teaching studio of 30 plus students. Plus, you recently have joined Anselmo Academy of Music and the Arts administrative staff, and you help share our programming in New Jersey, Rockland County, and Westchester communities, which is fantastic. We are delighted to have you. So let's start, from the beginning. Tell us about your childhood, your first music lessons, and how did it all begin?
Well, actually, my mother taught me piano briefly. Both my parents knew how to play piano. And I actually think, I don't know if it's going to be shown, but there's a picture that I had submitted of, so you'll see it later, my parents, and I was like a toddler, a year or two old, sitting at the piano. So there was always music in my house. I started 4.5. So my mother taught me for a little while, and I didn't really like having her as a teacher. So we fought a little bit and struggled, and then she took me to someone else for lessons, and then all was well. And so after piano lessons along the way in school, I also briefly studied saxophone and trumpet and flute as they introduced band instruments. But piano lessons were always my foundation. And when I was 13, I announced to my parents that I was going to be a musician. And, I'm sure part of that was to please them, since music was a major part of our household. But it definitely was my calling. So
When did you start going to Manus Prep?
I was about 11 years old. I'm not sure if it was 6th or 7th grade. And my teacher at the time was in New Jersey, and he was becoming a Franciscan monk and going off to the monastery. And so he said, I suggest not finding another teacher in New Jersey, but going to New York. And that was one of the best experiences of my life, spending all day Saturday from 8:30 in the morning till 5:30 in the evening, taking piano, ensemble, theory, ear training, chorus. I loved chorus. Master classes, workshops, recitals every month. So yeah, by the time I went to college, I had a very good musical education.
Tell us a little bit about Joan and lessons with Joan Berman. She was a very prominent figure while she was at Manus Prep.
Yeah, so actually I only studied with her for a year or two, because then she became the director of the prep and did much less teaching. So then I think I was just with her my first year or two of Manus Prep, and then I studied with Sheila Aldendorf and then Sarah Crawford in the prep. But there are some of the most fabulous teachers there.
Yeah.
And some teach in the college as well, where I went later for my bachelor's and master's. But like Poundy Bernstein, having him for theory as a teenager, like I entered college, I already knew what augmented sixth chords were. And, we knew everything by the time we were done with high school. So it was great.
Yes, Manus has really strong faculty. So tell us about Diane Walsh and Thomas Sauer.
So it's interesting because studying in college is very different than pre-college and when you're younger. I felt I very much had a bond with my teachers always, but when I was younger, it was very personal. And then when you get to college, it's so much more professional. And so I actually met Barbara through Tom Sauer. We were both students in his studio, and he would have monthly performance classes which was really nice because we'd get to hang out together and try out our pieces. He even had us over his apartment and he made pizza. I don't know if you remember that, Barbara. A couple of times, like we played for each other in his apartment, and then he like handmade pizza, and it was a lot of fun. So
sounds great. We kind of prepared a slideshow of so many pictures that you send us. So what we'd like to do is as we sort of go through each picture, you talk along
okay,
and tell us who is there. Yeah, let's begin.
So that's my parents, and that's me. I think I was like 2 years old. My mom singing. Great, thanks. So I believe this is a talent show. I won a couple of like local New Jersey competitions. I don't know how old I was. So that was the last teacher I had in New Jersey, Rick Manilow, and he's the one who became a monk and sent me off to New York to continue my studies. I think this was another talent competition in New Jersey. Fabulous picture. This was my first solo concert. I was 16 years old, and the woman in the green is Sheila Aldendorf, and those are my parents. This was at, I believe this was at a church in New Jersey. So I gave several recitals when I was 16. Yes, I sent this in. Yearbook picture. Most talented. As I said, I played many band instruments, so everyone knew music was important. It's me playing tenor sax, which I played for a few years. Okay, so one of my college friends was with me. This was at Northwestern, I believe, in Chicago, and we were goofing around. Actually, Marcel Telangbayan, I don't know if his sister's watching, but we had a lot of fun. And if you saw the movie Amadeus, they show Mozart doing silly tricks like this, which of course I couldn't really play, but it was fun to pretend. Same studio, just practicing. Lovely hair. Oh, this is me and Barbara. I think we were early 20s. I think this was our trip to Provence. We studied for about a month there. It was a program called Music Studies Abroad. And so we were with 20 or 30 Americans studying there. And I think this is the same trip that she and we did a lot of ensemble playing. It was an amazing time in France. And I think this is actually playing for my friend's wedding up in Boston many years ago. And this was an ensemble with 2 flautists, Dorima. I don't even remember who the other one was, but this was in New York City. And that's my son. So he's actually playing on my father's trumpet. And I played on this trumpet for a little while. So it has been passed down through the generations. And so this is a clip from our video. Recently, Charlie had a trumpet recital online. And then we also had another video we made for his school, and they got feedback. And of course, he didn't tell his band teacher that his mother's a pianist. So the band teacher was like, wow, your mother's a great accompanist. She's amazing. You know, teenagers. So this is my family. This is my husband, Scott, and Charlie on the other side, all dressed up. And my dog, this is Crockett, who thinks he deserves all the attention in the world.
Beautiful.
So this is a picture of my mother, who actually was made to play accordion when she was young, before she sang.
Fantastic. Wonderful. And so tell us a little bit about your teaching career, which is obviously you have had your teaching for many, many years. So tell us more about your, dedication to education and inspiring so many young students.
Yeah, so I think having some really influential teachers when I was younger is what spurred me to want to be a teacher. Because as soon as I was in college, I was already, I had a few students in Manhattan, and very much bonded with them. And so I've taught since college. Now that I live in New Jersey, I have my own studio. And yeah, I've had students. I have one high school senior who's off to college soon. We were just talking. He's been studying with me for 8 years. And it's just so amazing to see these students blossom, whether they're going into music or not. So it's been
How did you help your son to learn music? Was it something natural he wanted to do, or?
Not at all. He was a little bit like me in the beginning. I taught him piano and then wanted to bring him to another teacher when we were struggling, and he didn't want to. So at some point he decided to study another instrument, and I said, that's fine, as long as you're playing something. And then he started taking private trumpet lessons. So he's done that for a few years. Trumpet will not be what he goes to college for, but I love that he practices every day on his own. And yeah, and that is part of his education.
Wonderful. And so maybe tell us also a little bit about your position at Anselmo Academy as an administrator. Tell us a little bit about what you do and what your goals are and motivations.
Sure. So it's very interesting. It's been a great way to bring music and I mean, we now do acting and musical theater, but performing arts to people all over. So I manage the New Jersey and upstate New York division of the Anselmo Academy. And so I am in touch with families, bringing lessons to their homes. I'm in touch with schools, bringing music and classes either during the day or for enrichment. We give lessons and classes at community centers, at schools for autistic students, anywhere where they're willing to offer music or performing arts. We also do a lot of fundraising and offer discounted programs. So it's been, I feel like I'm an ambassador for music, which is great.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Alicia. Why don't you perform for us now live and tell us what you're playing?
Yeah, so I'm going to play a piece by Schumann from the Fantasiestücke. It's Aufschwung. The translation is soaring. And it's great. I was texting Barbara before this. She's playing Clara Schumann. So if you know anything about Schumann, he was a very disturbed individual. He today we would have said maybe he had bipolar disorder, but he felt that he had these two personalities, Florestan and Eusebius, and this piece is definitely Florestan, which is probably why it's an F minor. And yeah, I hope you enjoy. I'm going to move my bench over so you can.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Thank you for performing. Would you like to say a couple of words to that maybe something we didn't cover?
I guess I'll just sign off with, since Nicola was talking about sharing music, just that I think during these times, music is just so important, especially, I know for me throughout my life, it was an outlet and a way to express myself. So yeah, I think for anyone, whether they're beginner or advanced, it's just so important during these times to make sure you have time for that.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for joining us. Thank you. It's an honor.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. We're moving on to Barbara Podgorski. And just, you know, another brief introduction, since she has so many accolades. You have performed as a soloist and chamber musician throughout the US, Canada, Mexico, Caribbean, and Europe. You have premiered numerous new works, and you have been a designated organizer for 9/11 live broadcasts, where you are in charge of contracting musicians. This is so cool. I love this. And in 2015, you have performed for Pope Francis during his visit in New York City. Your bio is very unique, full of unique facts like this. So let's start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your childhood and how did your journey begin as a musician?
Well, I started, I guess I was 4 years old when I began piano. I had a little toy piano, and I'm sorry that I didn't find the picture to send to you, but it's under the Christmas tree, this little toy piano with rainbow keys, that and a Cookie Monster. This was my favorite toy. And according to my father, I used to sit and plunk at the keys, and I would hear the TV, like when there'd be a commercial. And then like a minute later, I'd start playing the melody of the commercial. And so my dad was a musician for much of his life until he had an accident. He played accordion and keyboard. And so he recognized that I had the music bug as well, and decided to get me piano lessons. Downstairs lived my grandfather, who was alive for about another year and a half after that time. And he played trumpet with Glenn Miller and Tommy Dorsey and Benny Goodman. So I had two musicians in the house, neither of which was my teacher, but you know, Dad and Mom had a lot to say throughout my practice. They took me to a local school, and that didn't last very long. It was I was progressing very quickly because I would practice an hour a day, so I didn't really need the teacher. I don't know what it was about an hour, but I think my father used to say that I was supposed to practice for an hour a day, so I really truly believed everyone else did. So I just did that. But shortly after that, and Nicola might know Susan Jolis, the harpist. And yes. So Susan's husband, Jerome, who passed away a few years ago, was actually my first real piano teacher. So I had him for a number of years, maybe 3 years, until I was maybe 8. Then I auditioned for Juilliard Prep and Manhattan School Prep. And then I started going to Manhattan School pre-college. So when I was really little, so I went to the prep for 10 years.
Great, wonderful. Who were your teachers at Manhattan Prep?
So at Manhattan Prep, so the best friends of the Jolises became my next teachers. So I've always kind of studied with the same family. So then came Fiorella Cannon, who was Fiorella Miotto, who was from Trieste, Italy, who her and her husband, Martin Cannon, were the assistants to Rosina and Joseph Levine at Juilliard. So I studied with Fiorella for the next 10 years. And every summer, my parents wouldn't let me go away for the summer to Bowdoin to be with the Cannons. They thought I was really young. So I would go back and study with Jerome Jolis. And then for college, where I met you and Alicia, by the time I got to college, a man had married into the family named Thomas Sauer. And so their son-in-law became my teacher during bachelor's and my master's. And then during the bachelor's, then I finally went to Bowdoin and saw Mr. and Mrs. Cannon. And then when I did my doctorate, Martin Cannon, who was at Juilliard, he was also at the Graduate Center. So he was my last teacher. And he just passed away a little over a year ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
So all in the family. And they would all talk to each other, you know, so I couldn't say anything about anybody to anyone because everyone would talk.
That is amazing. It really is. And so when, let's go a little bit back to your maybe teens. When did you know you're going to be a musician, or this is something?
Oh no, I was 5. So my dad used to watch PBS, and I remember Vladimir Horowitz was playing on the television with New York Philharmonic or something like this. And then he was playing some solo pieces. And my dad explained to me, like, he's a pianist. This is his career. This is what he does. And I didn't know that could be a job, because back then I wanted to be a princess. I thought that was a job. And so I asked him, oh, and he said, yes, Missy, if you practice a lot, you could be doing that one day. And then I said, well, do girls do that? You know, I didn't know. And so he used to show me whenever Alicia D'Alessio was on TV, and he would tell me, she's a very tiny woman with very small hands, and look at the sound she gets. And he said, yes, that you can do this. And so, you know, things progressed throughout my teen years. And then there was a choice, you know, of where to go to school. And I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to go to music school, because I had been already playing concerts for many years and with orchestra and stuff like that. And I thought, well, maybe I should go to medical school, like all my cousins who became doctors and lawyers, you know, I should go to medical school. So I did apply for Columbia and Barnard. And there was a brief moment where I was going to follow the track to go to medical school and study biochemistry and cell mutation and things like this. And this was something that interested me. But my dad said, look, you know, you got scholarships for college, for music. Why don't you just see how that goes? Try it out. You're young, you know, you're 17. You know, if it doesn't work out, you can always go, you know, you can change your mind, but why don't you at least owe it to yourself after dedicating like all that time, your whole life, where like your friends are outside playing and you're inside practicing, you know, you owe it to yourself. And he said, my mother and I fully support, you know, whatever you choose, which for me, having all these friends in pre-college, that was a really rare thing. You know, I'm very close still with Alicia, and she was one example of someone that I met whose parents also supported all of her decisions. But, you know, when I was in pre-college, most of my friends' parents were demanding that they go to medical school and law school, and that music was just for fun. So I really was very fortunate to have really supportive parents. You know, and another reason I got so good was my parents would be at school, and then my grandmother, who was hard of hearing, you know, didn't hear me put in my hour or hours. And my father would come home and be like, Ma, did she practice? And she'd go, I didn't hear anything. And so then he'd make me practice again. And I'd cry. Even when I was a teenager, and I'd get angry. And he's like, your grandmother said that you didn't practice.
That is hilarious.
Poor thing.
Yes, I practiced a lot.
That is hilarious. So your bio is so full of interesting projects. Why don't we talk about your being featured at WQXR as Young Artist Showcase, for instance, or NPR.
Okay, so the QXR, all of those, it must have been like 3 or 4 times. I think that was when we were all at Manus. So, you know, through the chamber music programs and stuff like that. And I don't even know how it came to be, but certain people, certain performances of the chamber music concerts that we would have would be pre-recorded and then submitted to WQXR by the dean. And so a number of times that happened. Then towards the end of my time at Manus, I started getting really into new music and like commissioning new works and stuff like that and learning about that. And I remember being in the modern music ensemble with Madeline Shapiro. And I remember we went to WNYC with John Schaefer and we did his show and we did an interview. So that was the first time I did something live. The other radio stuff I did was Nashville Public Radio. Whenever I used to go down to Nashville, we would do an interview there. Live from Studio C, and it would be kind of like a teaser for concerts I was doing with people in the symphony down there. I think that's the last time I did. Oh no, the last time I did live radio was when we go back to Nantucket. Sometimes we do a show there. It's always fun, but.
Wonderful. And then in your bio, you say that in 2015, you did performances for the National Association of Broadcasters.
Oh, yeah.
And then Golden Mike Awards with Grammy-nominated violinist Jenny Oaks Baker. Tell us more about that.
Yes, Jenny Oaks Baker is a very well-known violinist who lives in Utah, and her dad, Elder Baker, is one of the elders of the Mormon Church. And the honoree for this Golden Mike Awards was a senator who happened to be Mormon. And so he asked if the guest musician could be Jenny. And so she came in through mutual friends. I wound up playing, and it was just very exciting to meet a lot of like White House correspondents and senators, and it was a lot of fun.
Wonderful. And they are not related to canon, right? Just checking.
No, to the canon? No.
Since you said everybody is related. Okay, great.
No, they're not related, no.
They're not related, okay. And so I wanted to move on to the point where you perform numerous contemporary works, and you performed the concerto by a Pulitzer Prize winning composer, George Walker, and you premiered with the Queen Symphony Orchestra. Tell us more about that.
So I run a nonprofit music group that's both a concert series and educational children's programming called Music Origine Productions. It's based here in Queens, and it was created in the year 2000 by my mentor, conductor and pianist David Close, and his wife Leanne, to bring fine music to underserved neighborhoods of Queens, New York. And the reason that it was founded in 2000 had something to do with Manus, which was that they and a number of their friends used to always come in whenever I'd play with Alicia, or I would play by myself. There'd be chamber music, whatever the case would be. They would keep making the trip to Manhattan to go to the concerts, to the master classes we'd have at Manus. And then they started talking and saying, we should really have something like this in Queens, because we keep making all these trips, but we have these venues, we have these churches that with beautiful pianos, and we could start something here. And so that started in 2000, and I took over in 2010. So we're in our 21st season. And since I took over, I probably dedicate 1/3 to half of the programming to new works by composers living in New York or working in New York. I try to have composers that are based in Queens, and we try to commission a lot of new music. We host, when composers come and have new works that they need to premiere, a lot of times we'll serve as a host, and I'll gather the musicians that they need and work with them to make this happen and see their vision through. As far as the George Walker commission, that was our largest project. This was a couple years before his death. We commissioned a concerto for piano trio and orchestra. And we worked with him on that and premiered it with the Queen Symphony Orchestra. And, like Nicola was talking about, when you commission something, trying to get a number of orchestras, we actually had we had other people that were also interested in doing it, but it at the time didn't work out because we found out, I won't name any orchestras, but, we found out they were trying to like almost steal a premiere when it was supposed to be our premiere. Like, we commissioned it, we did all this work, we got them involved, and then they were trying to like kind of out from underneath do the premiere. So we wound up just doing the one performance of it. It's a great work, and it's my vision in the future to do Beethoven triple concerto and this concerto and have it played more and maybe even record it. But yeah, we're still really pretty heavily involved with working with new composers, and we premiere a lot of works on my series each year. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about 9/11 live broadcasts that you help organize.
So from the start of the commemoration for 9/11 back in the very first year, and for about the first 10 years, I helped the Department of Cultural Affairs to organize the musicians that would play during the broadcast of the name reading, which was very meticulously planned out down to the minute with pauses and everything. Like, people don't realize how much it wasn't just background music, but we worked together. So like a number of my colleagues that I would have play on my series worked with them with string quartets with like very specific timings of the music, so that for the moments of silence, like the music would, they don't just stop, like it's timed that way. And then after about 10 years, I think they started doing some pre-recorded music. They never really had piano there because it was outdoors. So I used to go, but I didn't play. And then I know you mentioned Pope Francis. This was also through the Department of Cultural Affairs when they did this service at the 9/11 Museum with all of the religious world leaders there. And I was there as a guest, but I brought our players from my organization, and they performed there for the Pope. So it was really very, very moving to have everyone in that room. There's about 300 people, like former presidents, senators, the heads of all the different religious organizations throughout the world all come together in one space. And there was a lot of security there.
Amazing. Tell us a little bit also about your trio. You have Pete Karen, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but and Drachman piano trio. And you completed your first US tour. And tell us more about your projects with the trio.
So Elizabeth Pitcairn is a very close friend of mine, and she is a violinist that owns the Red Mendelssohn Stradivarius, which is the most valuable instrument in the world. And she also runs the Luzerne Music Center, which a lot of us went to when we were little. She runs it now for a number of years. And I'm her, not only a close friend, but her East Coast pianist. So there's two of us that she has someone she works with on the West Coast, and I'm on the East Coast. We've been working together about over 10 years now. And Evan Drachman is the grandson of Gregor Podgurski. And so he plays on Podgorski's Stradivarius, and he came in, and we wanted to build a program about Beethoven's Archduke Trio. And we happen to know the dedicatees' descendants. So Beethoven dedicated the trio to the Archduke, and the great, I'm gonna get this wrong and it's gonna be on YouTube forever. The great grandson of the Archduke is Geza von Habsburg, and he is friends with Elizabeth and now myself. And so him and his son, who are both Archdukes from Habsburg, from Austria, were there at the first concert of the tour in Forest Hills and gave the introduction and the history behind the piece. And so we built this the tour at the time around that piece, and it was an all Beethoven program. It was a back-breaking program. I don't remember what else was on the program. But we played it some days on the tour. We played the program 2 times.
Yes.
But yeah, and a lot of what we do is like we haven't, that tour was right before COVID started. And so that kind of put a halt to things. And Evan, the cellist, Evan Drachman, also through the Podgorski Foundation runs a program that goes throughout the United States and brings music to like underserved areas, kind of like what I do here. He'll move around the whole country and set up little tours to bring music all over, and also for the musicians, it's a great chance to see a lot of the United States, which you don't usually get to see. But again, that was kind of like halted due to COVID. So we're really at some point really looking forward to and rehearsing.
Wonderful. We also have prepared sort of like a slideshow of all the pictures you sent us. So can we start, and you can talk along?
Yes, I don't remember exactly what I sent you, but now that I saw Alicia's pictures, I feel like maybe I should have picked more with me at the piano. Like I think they're not just all my rabbits, or I think there's me at a piano. Oh, that's Manus graduation with my mother and my father. Graduation from Manhattan School pre-college. I am still friends with her. With Amy runs the Klez dispensers, a klezmer group. They're quite fabulous. So young there. Manus, when Boris was practicing his photography skills, and I was one of the subjects. That's in Goldmark Hall. Again, okay, this is Amy, the same girl from the picture two before this, when I had her klezmer group come back to Forest Hills and play a big show. That was photos that, I needed new photos because I didn't look like my old photos. So we went to Central Park and Steinway Hall, and we took a whole new set of photos. Right before the concert I played with Constanza, which you played earlier. It was for that concert. This was one of the first group of people that I ever had play on our Musica Reginae chamber series, and I'm still very close with them. Cellist Robert Burkhart, Cyrus Baruchim, the violinist, Will Hakem, violist, and Caroline Chin, violinist, who for some time ran Musica Reginae with me as well. That's at Steinway Hall from that photo shoot. I need new photos again. Oh, yeah. Someone dared me to lay on the piano at Middlebury College after the faculty concert, after where we used to teach. That was my trio. Before the trio I have now, Cyrus Baruchim and Arash Joey Amini. Joey's in the back. He moved to Malibu, so our trio stopped being a trio, and we miss him. That, I think that's at Steinway Hall. I'm not sure. Doctoral graduation with my mom and stepdad. My husband, Tom. Apparently it was happy hour somewhere. This is the man, Maestro David Close, who started my music group, Musica Reginae. And I still work with him, and he's been a mentor to me for about 25 years now. That is Elizabeth. That's one of our concerts that we did on one of our tours together. I think that's upstate. This is at New York Academy of Art when I played at the Andy Warhol School for their gala. And we were just goofing around. Katie Krasik, one of my closest friends from Manus. We just played, we made top national news with the Associated Press yesterday for performing at the Javits Center with Music for Medicine, with Sing for Hope and American Modern Ensemble. This is, why am I, oh my God. Kronos Quartet, I'm so sorry. Kronos Quartet came and asked me if I'd host them for free to play on my concert series, because they were doing something with the Kaufman Center, Face the Music with the children, and the venue, somehow something happened with the venue, and I was like, Kronos Quartet wants to play for free, of course, please come. And this viola, the viola he's holding was actually made in Queens. There was a whole story behind that. That is one of our recent concerts before COVID at Musica Reginae, and some of my dearest friends, Marta, Norit, Juna, and Raga. We played quintets. This was a new music concert, one of our new music concerts that I hosted, one of the first ones a number of years back. Where some of the composers were present, and the girl and the woman in the red shirt runs the children's programming with me, and she's from Lincoln Center Education, and also works with Carnegie Hall as a teaching artist for children's programming through them. One of our board members, I think this was one of our fundraiser gala things that I had for Musica Reginae. with the piano dress. This was one of the first outreach concerts I did at a recreational center in the project in Queens, not far from where I live. And like these kids had never ever seen or touched a piano before. And they were so excited, you know, that I let them try it. Oh, my little student. Those are a couple of my students who I don't get to see in person anymore, but we've gotten really good at FaceTime. This was at a fundraiser. The two guys in the middle that are not dressed up are the owners of Finback Brewery, which has really become like internationally very well known. And they are major sponsors of our music group that I run.
Wonderful.
Fox 5. It's funny. Fox 5 News came to my high school where I would go back and volunteer. And we were playing, I don't know, I was playing like the theme from 007 or something. I don't even know. They made me make the introductions on the news that morning, which I was very thrilled, more thrilled about this than playing at Carnegie Hall, I have to tell you. And I don't even remember what I played, but that day right after that, I went on a tour with Elizabeth with violinist. Alicia, me, and Tom Sauer, that was our teacher in college. And I had him come back and do a solo recital on the series in Queens. And we had like a little reunion and it was so nice. This is Silas Nathaniel Huff. And he, I believe, is in Colorado now, but he was the conductor of Astoria Symphony Orchestra. And I had just played Mozart K491 with them and wrote my own cadenza. I do remember that. Tom made Alicia, me and Alicia both write our own cadenza to that concerto. And that was the agreement that we could be at the concerto competition. We had to write our own cadenza. And then so finally, years later, I got to play the piece with orchestra and I did play my cadenza. That is in Palm Beach on tour at the Sosnoff Estate with Elizabeth, without her violin there. And Tony Bennett had signed that piano in gold pen, and I was very excited about it. That is at, it's no longer there, but Barnes and Nobles in Forest Hills used to allow us to come in sometimes and do a little program for the children. So that was one of those days. And this little girl was like very, very excited about our program. Tony Bennett. See, he did sign the piano.
Fantastic. That was great. And please tell us what you're going to play for us live today.
Oh, I think I lied to Alicia because she got really excited before and I didn't realize I said the wrong name of who I was playing. Oh. So yeah, no, but I love me some Clara Schumann. But anyway, this is a piece by Fanny Mendelssohn called the Nocturne. And can I just tell you that it took months and months and months to find this music because so much of her music is out of print, which is leading me to want to do a project in the future of possibly being the second person ever to record all of her piano works. So back in her time, they were from a very, very wealthy family. Elizabeth, my friend who was in all those pictures, actually owns the violin that she played. And so that family had, but I'm not sure if she played it or her cousin. But anyway, so Fanny was a very, very gifted composer, much like her brother Felix, but it was kind of considered inappropriate or, shameful to the family for her to go out and seek recognition as a woman back then, even though she was so talented as a composer. And so her brother Felix used to play her music, and a lot of times he would get credit for it. And there was one time in particular that he did a performance for the king, and the king was so overwhelmed by how much he loved this piece of music, and he said, "I'm really sorry, I can't accept your praise because my sister actually wrote this music. This is her music." And it was really sad because she died so young. I believe she was 41. her and Felix, and I think both parents died of very rare types of strokes, if I'm not misspeaking. And both her and her brother died very, very young. So I bet she would have written a lot more, and maybe she would have even reached a point in her older life where she would have freely been able to kind of publish her music, kind of like Clara Schumann did. But anyway, so this is the Nocturne. I have two parakeets that get really enthusiastic when I play in the house. So I'm really sorry. And I'm going to try to move the camera so that you can see the piano better. I think this is good. Is it okay? Okay. So this is for piano and two parakeets. Danny Mendelsohn.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Is there anything else that you'd like to add at the end that maybe we did not talk about? The connection, I think, is...
Yeah, I mean, just to add to what my colleagues here have been saying, a lot of
You're going in and out a little bit, connection-wise, which is okay.
I did love the piece she played. Just chime in. maybe I can get the music from you at some point.
You know, it's good. No, just to add to what you guys, this past year has been really rough for a lot of people, obviously, and for musicians in particular, to have a great deal of our work, you know, just stopped. Tours canceled, playing canceled. The one constant thing for me has been, you know, piano students and the ability to the way we're meeting right now, to teach them. It's not ideal, but you know, there are positive things that have come out of, you know, the kids becoming more independent and you know, learning how to deal with all types of situations and crisis. And slowly things are getting back to starting to heal and starting to go back. We're live streaming concerts, you know, and one day it'll go back, but you know, music has really been really important to people. And until I played at the Javits Center last week, when I got my first shot through that program, and people came over crying, and they said, you don't understand because you hear yourself play every day, but we haven't heard live music in over a year. And it was a very emotionally moving day for everybody. And, you know, we need this, and we need the world to heal and everyone to stay healthy, to do with everybody, and making, you know, but we're making the world a better place through sharing our music in whatever way we can, including what we're doing today with you, Vera, and, you know, getting music out there, and we'll continue to inspire the young people we teach, and the grown-ups we teach. And that's all we can do, is keep everyone safe.
Thank you so much, Barbara. You're breaking up a little bit. So I just want to say thank you to Nicola, to Alicia and Barbara for being with us today. Thank you so much, guys. And to all our listeners today, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and share any comments you have or questions in the comments below. Thank you. So long.
Thank you. Bye.